I'm here with Steve Lucas, and we're going to talk about something a little bit differently than we normally talk about at marketing conferences, right? We talk a lot about data, we talk a lot about personalization, but talk to me a little bit about having type 1 diabetes and how that plays a role in your career and maybe adjusted things.
Yeah, it definitely plays a role.
Yeah.
Type 1 diabetes is kind of in the family of diabetes, type 1, type 2.
Sure.
Type 1 is genetic, it's something you're born with and there's not much you can do about it.
Right.
The beautiful part about type 1 diabetes though is there are an incredible range of treatment options today, so it's a manageable chronic illness. And frankly 30 years ago, I mean, it was a death sentence. So we've come a long way in terms of the treatment of type 1, so thank goodness. And for me, being diagnosed almost 25 years ago. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been fascinating because it's not something that plays a role year to year or month to month or even day to day.
Yeah.
It's minute by minute and second by second. In a literal sense, I was thinking about this today as I was backstage about to go out and do a keynote.
Right.
My blood sugar just started to drop.
Yep.
Couldn't tell you why, no idea. And you have this panic-stricken moment, not because you're about to walk out in front of 20,000 people and speak, but because you need sugar, and quickly.
And that's the other thing I was going to say is most people are thinking about the crowd, everything else.
I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about where's the Mountain Dew?
Right. And does that kind of help you kind of compartmentalize everything else?
It does, yeah. So I mean, diabetes plays a big role in my life because it's just omnipresent. It's there all the time. And it's a science experiment, second by second. Your blood sugar's high, your blood sugar's low, you need to take insulin, all of those things happen. While it sounds complicated, I say to people, hey, you gotta brush your teeth.
It's your day-to-day, right? For other people it'd be complicated. When you first were diagnosed, what was the big adjustment you had to make?
Oh. Wow, I remember, my wife tells me that my memory's very selective, but when I was first diagnosed, I remember it perfectly.
Yeah.
I remember it because for 2 weeks I've been traveling, kind of similar to one of these big conferences, and I was in Florida and then I was in California for 2 big events, and I just wasn't feeling good, and you kind of know, okay, something's wrong, and I started losing a lot of weight. In a 2-week period, I'd shed about 15 pounds, so very sunken in, not feeling good.
Yeah.
And I remember calling my wife saying, I need to go to the hospital, and I went, and the doctor came out and said, I don't know how to tell you this, but you have type 1 diabetes. And I knew nothing about it. Am I going to die? Is this a bad thing? Can I eat donuts? Which was a primary focus for me.
The first thought.
All those things, it's like, wow, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And so when you hear that news, of course, the worst thing you can do is Google it. And I've decided that, so the Google search for all chronic illnesses should direct people to one page, which is you're going to die.
Yes.
And you're not
6 degrees of cancer, always.
And
Absolutely.
you're not going to die, you're going to be fine. But it began this process of education for me.
Yeah.
But there's one other very clear moment in my mind the day after I was diagnosed. So in that 24-hour period, I spent the entire time, my wife flew out to meet me.
Yeah.
And I spent the entire time complaining, lamenting about my condition.
Sure.
Why me? And my wife said something really profound that I've never forgotten. She looked me in the eyes and said, but why not you? What gives you the right to be immune to these things? And she's the sage advice of this amazing woman I've been married to for 25 years. She said, why don't we just stop reading the things online?
Yep.
Let's go out to dinner, and you know what? Have a piece of cake, because it's not going to kill you today.
Right.
And when we went to dinner that night, and it's that moment where I felt the universe was speaking to me loud and clear. Because I was complaining right up until that moment, I'm going to have to eat cucumbers, I don't even like cucumbers. And sitting at the table beside us, and you could not have planned it any better. There was a woman sitting at the table beside me, had been born with a very severe birth defect. She'd been born without arms.
Yeah.
And there she was in a restaurant with no shame, feeding herself, eating out of her plate on her own, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like a dog would eat out of a bowl.
Yeah.
And that landed so deeply on me and in me, thinking, here's someone that has challenges that I can't even begin to imagine or appreciate. And that's not stopping her.
No,
She's-
challenges create perspective.
Yeah,
right?
she's owning it.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I turned over and I looked at my wife and I said, I will own this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can fix it, but I will own it. And I promise you, from this moment forward, you will never hear me complain about it. And I will find a way to help myself and help other people that have this challenge.
Yeah, and then transitioning that to running a $4+ billion company.
Yes, yeah.
How does that affect your leadership style?
Yeah, so yes, fast forward a little, yeah. So the reality
espresso,
is
yeah.
it has deeply affected me. I honestly don't know if I'd be the same person today without type 1.
Yeah.
What I thought was without a doubt my greatest curse has been unequivocally my greatest blessing. It
awesome.
really has. The people that I've met, how I've learned to empathize with others, and you look around and you see all these happy people and you think, well, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
But you learn that what you see at the surface level is not reality. There's so much more inside a person, and you don't know what trials or challenges they have, and they may look fine.
Right.
But you just don't know.
And that adversity creates empathy. That empathy makes you a better leader.
That's right.
That is, so that's how you can, call from it.
That is it. I believe the core of leadership is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
If you can empathize with people and understand that we're all humans, we're all in a very human, fallible journey together.
Right.
That creates it creates an opportunity to lead people. And so it means a lot and has meant a lot to me. So I've spent the majority of my career trying to understand people and get below the surface level.
Sure.
And not be dismissive of what people assert is a challenge or an issue. And I would say probably prior to type 1, I maybe was a little dismissive of that. So it's certainly changed me, and all the wonderful people that I've had the opportunity to meet and interact with. I have lived a rich life because of diabetes.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
For leading and for making me laugh during Summit. You needed it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing the energy.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.